We live in an era where artificial intelligence can map the human genome in hours. Yet when it comes time for a Fortune 500 company to make a billion-dollar strategic choice, the process reverts to a primitive standoff. You get a group of executives in a room, and the decision is frequently driven by the highest-paid person's opinion. It's an environment where confidence masquerades as competence, and the loudest voice at the table dictates the outcome, based on ego rather than data. This dynamic forces brilliant leaders to rely on raw intuition. They end up trying to predict complex market shifts and competitor reactions based on little more than a gut feeling. When you strip away the corporate jargon, a massive portion of global strategy is just a high-stakes, blindfolded guessing game. Consider a classic corporate standoff. Two rival companies locked in a brutal pricing war, fighting for the exact same market share. Because neither side knows what the other is actually going to do, fear and uncertainty take over. The executives in these stuffy, high-pressure boardrooms assume the worst, and they authorize aggressive, retaliatory price cuts. The math on this is unforgiving. It sparks a race to the bottom that evaporates profit margins and causes severe financial damage to both organizations. Surviving these scenarios requires leaving the guesswork behind. Organizations need a structured methodology to actually map out future interactions before they make a move. Relying on competitive aggression without a mathematical framework doesn't project strength. In a complex, multi-actor environment, it virtually guarantees mutual failure. Escaping that brutal zero-sum trap requires a completely different environment, one that is built entirely on transparency and structured logic. Before an organization can accurately predict a competitor's move, it has to look inward and translate its own messy, subjective priorities into hard numbers. This is where we apply the analytic hierarchy process, or AHP. It's a rigorous mathematical framework developed by Dr. Thomas L. Soddy, designed specifically to capture and quantify human judgment. This diagram shows how AHP works. It breaks a decision down by forcing pairwise comparisons. You compare market share against brand prestige, converting preferences into numerical weights. By mathematically aggregating everyone's input, the ego is stripped away, leaving a single objective consensus score. AHP takes the subjective, emotional human intuition that dominates corporate meetings and turns it into a defensible, quantified dataset. But having perfect internal alignment only solves half the problem. Your optimal strategy still depends entirely on what your competitor decides to do next. Economists have used Yang theory for decades to analyze these exact types of strategic interactions. But classical game theory has always had a glaring real-world flaw. It's incredibly difficult to assign accurate numbers to subjective human choices. Taking the numbers generated through AHP, we populate a game theory payoff matrix with exact values. Next, artificial intelligence models the competitor's priorities, filling the other side. Finally, we calculate the Nash equilibrium, the math to change strategy. Fusing AHP with game theory replaces boardroom guesswork with a mathematically stable competitive roadmap. When you actually run the numbers, the math reveals a counterintuitive outcome. In modern business, the Nash equilibrium rarely points toward a cutthroat bloodbath. Mapping these interactions mathematically often proves that collaborative, win-win strategies, a concept known as co-opetition, yield significantly higher payoffs than isolated aggressive attacks. In a complex world, cooperative clarity provides a far more durable competitive advantage than aggression. Think 25 functions as a complete, structured architecture for elevating exactly how modern leaders process the complex world around them. Organizations have a choice to make. They can continue relying on power-driven choices, where whoever yells the loudest wins, or they can build wisdom-driven futures based on what the math actually proves is best. It's time to cut through the noise, step out of the shadows, and give your brain a chance, because transforming uncertainty into data-driven confidence is the only way to successfully duel with the future.